All right, hi. I have been documenting some things lately that just transpired in my life, and that's kind of how I'm going about doing this because I don't know what else to do other than just kind of tell my story. And it might be meaningless to some people, it might be really interesting to some people, so I thought I'd just go ahead and try it. Um, I just found something from when I was a kid that I thought was kind of interesting. I mean, I didn't just find it, I've had it for a long time, and I've read it a few times recently because it was just so interesting to me. Anyway, I'll get to that. Uh, but I wanted to start with like where I grew up. This is when I was a kid. This is where this came from. I grew up in Central California, around the Mojave Desert area, Lancaster. That's where I was born. It's Lancaster, Palmdale area. Uh, where I went to school in Lancaster at a private Baptist school until I was in third grade. Uh, I went to a preschool called the Peach Factory there, and then went to that school through third grade. Uh, I'm make sure I don't miss anything here. Both of my parents worked in government at some point in time. I'll start with my dad. My dad was in the Navy. He started out in the Navy when he was younger. Came back, did some, I don't know what he did. He worked for some different companies, but ended up as a firefighter, crash rescue firefighter at Plant 42 near Edwards Air Force Base. I don't know if it's on the base or outside of it. I can't remember. But I've been out there to the base with my dad when I was a little kid. Remember going out there, he took me for a ride in his fire truck one time in a parade in Lancaster. I remember one time we went out there to the fire station, and he had to tuck his shirt in, so he like undid his pants to tuck his shirt in, and I was like, "Dad, there's gonna be girls around here, man. Aren't you afraid you're gonna see with your pants undone or whatever?" That's one of my memories out there of that. And then I ended up being a firefighter and had the same thing. You go out and tuck your damn shirt in. It's not a big deal. So he worked there. After that, he did a couple of things. Worked for some other companies. One of the ones that he worked for was Rocketdyne, where they made the engines for the space shuttle. And I got to go out to that plant before, and he took me around. I got to look around, and there was these barrels out there that they had like some of the waste from the fuel tanks that they would run fuel through these tanks, and to test the motors. And when the fuel would run through there, it would have all these deposits that would build up, and it would build up these little things on the end of the pipes that looked kind of like coral. It would grow from those deposits from the rocket fuel, and they were kind of cool. And you could see where they broke them off the end of the pipe. There was like a little ridge on the inside, and he gave me a couple of those. I kept those for a long time. I think I sold them at a garage sale or something. Who knows? I don't have them anymore. I wish I did. And after that, he was a limo driver. After all of his other random jobs, towards the end of his life, and then he developed lung cancer, and eventually committed suicide. Actually, shot himself. I think that's the story. This could be like a really long video if I go into that. That's what I was told. Okay, so that's my dad. He's actually buried at the military cemetery in Tehachapi off of Highway 58. So that's my dad. My mom worked at a place called Delmo Victor, I believe, in the Bay Area, and then moved to a couple different places, then ended up with a job with the Federal Aviation Administration and worked with them for a while. And she worked at the facility that was near Edwards Air Force Base out there. So they would control basically all of the airspace around that area. My guess is that she needed a pretty high clearance to obtain that job. She needed to know everybody's information that was hired there. They had all these air traffic controllers and high ups and stuff like that. That had to do with the aviation industry, aviation, everything with aviation around there. So, and I'd been in that facility too with my mom way more than I went places with my dad. My mom raised me basically from the time I was 2. But I went in there with her, got to see a lot of the FAA facility areas. The air traffic controllers would show me the little on their screens. They had all these rows of screens, circle screens, and then they would show me like the keys and stuff like that. And there was a little roller ball on their desk, and I guess that's how they would maneuver on the screen and stuff like that. And they would hit a button and maneuver and show an airplane where to go, whatever. And then one day, this guy was like, "Hey, you want to try it?" You know, and I'm probably, I don't remember how old, about 6, 7, who knows, somewhere around there. And I'm like, "Yeah, I want to try that." So he's like, "Yeah, just roll this roller ball right here. Just give it a spin, or you know, wherever you want the plane to go." And I spun it, and he goes, "Oh, you made it crash!" And I literally thought that I made an airplane crash for a minute. And then they let me think that for a second, and then they told me it was a joke. So that's an air traffic controller type of joke. I get it. They're under a lot of stress. So, and I also spent a lot of time in there during the strike during the 80s when the air traffic controllers went on strike against the federal government. My mom was the head of personnel in that facility, and she had to do the paperwork for all these people that got fired, you know. And she didn't have a place for daycare at the time, I guess. I don't know what the deal was, but I seemed to be out there with her a lot during that time because she was working a lot of overtime. And, you know, she was putting in like, I think 14, 16-hour days sometimes, and she would have a meeting with somebody, and then there'd be some yelling and door slamming and, you know, stuff like that. And I heard some people say some stuff to my mom. It wasn't really I don't know, man, it was nuts. I was like this little kid running around this facility by myself, and I would just like jamming all over the place. So after that, she worked for the IRS. We moved from there to Valencia. She was still with the FAA when we were in Valencia. Then we moved from Valencia to Central California to Fresno. She got a job with the IRS at the Fresno facility. She worked there for a while. Oh man, I got a place. I'm sorry. When we moved to Fresno, she worked for the United States Forest Service in personnel. She transferred to the Forest Service. She worked there for quite a while. After that, she transferred to the IRS, to the Fresno facility. Then we moved from California to Nashville, Tennessee, Mount Juliet to be exact. Cool little town. I liked it there. And she worked at the Nashville facility. We were there for a couple of years. I was missing California, missing my friends in California, and my mom and I weren't getting along, and I ended up moving back with a friend for like a year. Finished up my high school, graduated high school, living with that friend, and then my mom moved back. Actually, before I graduated, right? Yeah. So she moved back to California. She worked for the IRS again there, and then retired. So that's my mom and my dad. A lot of our family, my aunt worked for Skunk Works. A lot of family members worked for different facilities out there in that area. And one uncle was pretty high up. They moved up to Washington. He worked for either Boeing or I can't remember. He was high up in one of the Lockheed Martin, maybe. I can't remember, honestly. There's family history that went way longer than I wanted to, because this whole video is about this thing when I was a little kid. So we moved from Lancaster to Valencia. I was in 4th grade. I started 4th grade in Valencia. And when we were in class for writing exercise, or I'm not sure exactly what they were doing. They wanted the older kids to come in, and it was a project for the older kids. They were like in 6th or 7th grade, I think. I can't remember exactly how old these kids were, but they came in and they were like our mentors. And they asked us a series of questions about our life and things we liked and stuff like that. And then I don't know how long it took, a couple of weeks later, a month later, something like that, they came back with a story for us. So I remember telling him I liked this game called Spy Hunter. My mom was at a bowling league, and when I'd go there, I'd take a handful of quarters, go to the arcade, and just play that game the whole night. It was fun. It had like smoke screen and oil slick, and there was a steering wheel, and you know, it was pretty cool. Shifter. I had Transformers at the time. I liked Transformers, you know, stuff like that. And that's what they asked you. They wrote that information down. So they wrote this story for me. This guy, Daniel A. Chavez, wrote this story for me. It's dry here in Arizona. I'm sorry, I'm licking my lips. I've been talking a lot. So this is my story. Michael Barden, Spy Hunter, by Daniel A. Chavez. And I'm just going to start reading it. But a lot of this, it just, anybody that is a targeted individual that hears this, some things are going to, well, I'm just going to go ahead and read it. So I'm just reading out like this. Looks like the ink bled through on that. The day was Saturday. It was 1985. This is the day that Michael Barden, a fourth grader at Old Orchard, would go to Magic Mountain. It was his birthday, and he was not about to let it go by without a party. Michael Barden had decided to take his friend, I'm not going to say his name, and of course his cat Bandit all morning. Oh, I'm sorry, and his cat Bandit. All morning, all Michael could think about was playing Spy Hunter. He was also excited about the guest star at Magic Mountain, Shockwave, and Transformer. Yeah, can't read right now. And there's like little photo of a car. I mean, drawing of the Spy Hunter game. After downing 3 pizzas and 6 Cokes, Michael was ready. After much anticipation and excitement, they were off. They soon reached the mountain. Michael, Chad, and Bandit raced off. Michael remembered his mother saying to be back at exactly 2 o'clock. After many rides and many more Cokes, Michael spotted the Spy Hunter game, but also noticed the out-of-order sign on the top of it. Darn, said Michael, kicking the machine. But before he could finish, he was teleported into the machine. Okay, this is where it kind of seems to sound weird to me. Tables had turned. No longer would he play the game. He would live it. When Michael reappeared, he was in a highly sophisticated Spy Hunter car. He poured on the gas. Immediately behind him was the helicopter Airwolf. Michael fired a missile and blew it out of the sky. Now 2 cars appeared behind him. They were closing fast. I mean, that's been happening quite a bit recently. They're going to kill me, Michael said frantically as he slammed his fist down onto Bandit's claw, shattering it. Bandit let out a deafening screech. The 2 cars were now both on his right side. As he swerved off into the water, "No, no," Michael screamed, and his mother awakened him from his heavy slumber. "It's just a bad dream. It's 4 o'clock in the morning. Now go back to sleep," she said, reassuringly as she could. Morning came quickly as Michael's mother yelled, "Michael, it's time to get up." Michael awoke with a start. It's almost time to go to Magic Mountain. It came back to him all too clear. Was it all a dream? Was he really there? As he remembered, he stared at the sleeping cat on the bed. As a confident smile came to his face, Michael saw Bandit's smashed claw as he awoke his cat. He said, "I'm sorry, Bandit. I'll make it up to you. Let's start with a nice can of 9 lives, or if you want, a package of tender victuals." Bandit only meowed and strolled off towards the kitchen. "Mom, I don't want to go to Magic Mountain after all," he said. "But it's your birthday." "I know, but I'd rather stay home and just take it easy with Bandit." Sounds like a normal story, you know, if you haven't had a ridiculous amount of just crazy stuff going on in your life. Anyway, take what you want from that. I just wanted to share that story. Just something about me, something to kind of document for myself mostly, and I just figured since I'm doing this, maybe some other people will find it interesting. Maybe be able to tell me something about some of this stuff. Go, hey, you know, actually it has been very helpful. Some people have messaged me and given me some information that's kind of opened my eyes to a couple more things that I didn't realize before, and you know, aha, you know, I'm having a lot of aha moments. So keep those coming. I appreciate that. think everybody says like and share. I've been watching too many videos, but that's not what this is all about. But um, I would like some people to just hear this. You know, this is real life stuff that's going on, and to somebody that doesn't know about gang stalking or being a targeted individual, this might just sound like some interesting, goofy story. With anybody that's gone through this before, especially somebody that's gone through it long term, might see that this could be one of these things that was just inserted into my life for foreshadowing or whatever the thing they do. But a lot of mine is really long term kind of stuff where there will be a clue left, and years later, something will be presented to me, and I'll just go, "Oh, geez, oh, really? You took that long? You took that long to do that?" Yeah. I really need to get some work done right now. I've been working a lot on these videos and stuff like that, and it's been taking up a lot of my time. Imagine that. All right, I hope you all have a great day. Thank you.